10 huge EastEnders spoilers for next week from 26 to 29. What's coming up in Walford? 1. Ravi issues a warning, more determined than ever. Zack asks Ravi for a loan to fund his escape plan. However, rather than hand over cash, the restaurant owner warns Zack not to mess with Nicola before revealing that she recently asked him to move a dead body afterwards. Zack trusts Linda with his discovery, and she persuades him to report his ex to the police for Barney's sake. Once at the station, Zack gives DC Powers enough information to facilitate Nicola's arrest. Is the game finally up? 2. Phil solves a problem, much to Phil's confusion. Nigel feels angry that his loved ones didn't make an occasion out of his birthday, even though he claimed to not want a fuss. In response, Phil talks through his predicament with Yolande, Alfie, and Honey, then directly asks Nigel why he's so worked up. A conversation ensues in which Phil suggests that they should belatedly celebrate the big day as Nigel requests to visit the cinema. Can Phil give him the perfect day that he's after? 3. Zack exposes the truth. Once Nicola is placed under arrest, Zack observes Harry's response to the sudden turn of events. Afterwards, the Walford East chef reveals the truth about Barney's paternity to Harry, hoping that he will help them both flee. Before long, Nicola is released, and Harry breaks the news to his dad about Barney. How will Teddy cope with the bombshell? 4. Barney reaches out. As word about her and Joel sleeping together spreads, Avani receives a barrage of cruel messages. Barney tries his best to offer emotional support, but Avani storms off at the very mention of Joel's name. It's not long until the pair are reunited, though. When Barney finds Avani looking distressed in the playground as he attempts to help again, will Avani realize that she needs a friend? 5. Gina offers support, now working at the Arches. Kojo has his sights firmly on living the independent life that he told George he was after. Sensing this, Gina makes it clear to her uncle that she's more than happy to help him look for a flat. Will Kojo find his perfect home in Walford? 6. Nicola gives a pep talk. Barney comforts Avani over the abusive messages she has received, and the pair are spotted by Nicola. She immediately jumps to conclusions and assumes that Avani is a bad influence on her son. But Barney soon sets her straight and fills her in about what has happened to his friend. Nicola gives her some words of support that she appreciates, and Avani's gratitude to Barney brings them closer. 7. Harry risks it all at first. Nicola refuses to admit the truth about Barney, but she eventually buckles under the pressure when Teddy continues to push her with the secret out. Teddy and Nicola are forced into a painful exchange. However, things become even more complicated when Harry blurts out Zack's plan to escape with Barney later. Harry makes a drastic move to stop Zack by trapping him in his car boot and speeding out of town. 8. Teddy makes a deadly decision. Teddy is determined to stop Harry in his tracks before he does something to Zack that he regrets. He waves down a car, which contains Honey, Billy, and Nigel, who are on their way to the cinema, and asks for a lift to follow Harry. While it seems like Teddy has the risky situation under control, things soon go very wrong when one car veers off the road and into the lake, but which car ends up in the water? 9. Avani acts on her feelings, with Avani and Barney continuing to bond. She asks him if he wants to go back to her house, but when Barney misunderstands her intentions, Avani gets angry and heads off alone. Their argument is observed by Ravi, who gives Barney some helpful advice. This leads to the pair making friends, and Avani even kisses Barney. Could this mark the start of a new romance? 10. Vicky reveals a secret after the dramatic car crash. The survivors make their way to dry land and also try to save those who are still trapped in the sinking vehicle. It doesn't take long for word to get back to Walford about the incident, and the tragic news encourages Vicky to take matters into her own hands. She arrives at number 1 to confess the truth, an outburst which leaves Barney stunned. What does he discover, and will everyone make it out of the crash alive? EastEnders reveals important murder update as Zack's suspicions grow. Has Zack found out some valuable information? Barney is Zack's son as a result of his past fling with Nicola Mitchell, but the teen has been brought up believing Teddy is his dad. Recent episodes have seen Zack plotting to take Barney away after growing closer to his son and finding out Nicola's big secret. While Benji is in the frame for the murder of Shireen Bashar, Nicola confessed to Zack that she's actually the killer and threatened him by saying she knows where Zack's ex Whitney, their daughter Dolly, and foster child Brittany are. However, Zack is still determined to leave with his son on tonight's episode. Vicky confronted Zack in the cafe, telling him she hoped he'd slept on his idea to kidnap Barney. Zack replied that Barney wants to get away from Nicola's home. However, Vicky reminded him that the teenager does not know Zack's his real father, plus Nicola and Teddy could unleash dangerous repercussions on them. But Zack was undeterred, saying he'd tell Barney the truth about his paternity and reminding Vicky that she knows how awful it is to be lied to about your true identity. However, Vicky told him that sometimes the truth can mess with you as much as the lies, and added that Zack can't just blow his whole world apart and expect Barney to trust him. Later in the Vic, Teddy told Harry that Benji had been charged with Shireen's murder, saying that they could now begin to put everything behind them, but an angry Harry told him that if it wasn't for Nicola hiring Benji, Shireen would still be alive. Also in the Vic, Zack spoke to Jay and found out that Harry had moved out of Nicola and Teddy's house a few weeks ago and is now living with Billy and Honey. When Zack saw Vicky again, he told her that he was sorry about what happened earlier. He said he agreed that he couldn't just tell Barney he's his father. The news needed to come from someone Barney trusts. Mentioning that Harry had moved out of his parents' home, Zack said that the timing aligned with when Shireen's body was found, so perhaps he'd realized what kind of people Nicola and Teddy are and wanted nothing to do with them. Zack said his new plan was to speak to Harry and get him on side in the hope that he might want to give his little brother a better life. However, Vicky wasn't so sure that Harry would be willing to turn on his parents so easily. Avani receives support from a very unexpected source as her ordeal escalates in EastEnders. Distraught after news of her sleeping with Joel Marshall went viral, Avani is in a state of distress and feeling alone. Newcomer Joel latched onto her shortly after arriving on Albert Square with Dad Ross, and the pair soon became close. Already vulnerable after being strip-searched by the police, Avani was looking for company and comfort, and the teenagers soon fell into bed or onto the sofa, as it were. However, unbeknownst to Avani, he'd recorded the whole thing, having learned no lessons from being forced to leave Australia after making an upskirting video there too. And as Avani's situation worsens, she finds her mood bolstered by a chat with a surprisingly supportive Nicola. As the week begins, Avani is bombarded with a series of cruel messages online when news spreads of her sleeping with Joel. A concerned Barney Mitchell tries to reach out, but she storms off when he mentions Joel. Later, he finds her in clear distress in the playground and attempts to help out again. As Barney comforts Avani over the abusive messages she's been getting, Nicola walks in and finds them together. She initially assumes that Avani has been leading Barney astray, but he puts her right, revealing the abuse she's been suffering. Nicola gives Avani a pep talk, and touched by the Mitchells' support, she and Barney continue to bond. Avani asks Barney if he wants to go back to her house, but grows angry when he gets the wrong end of the stick and storms off again, watching the altercation. Ravi Gulati offers Barney some advice, and as he and Avani make amends later, she leans in and gives him a kiss. But how will Barney react? EastEnders airs special Lauren episode in powerful iPlayer release Jimmy Gets a Diagnosis. Having noticed something concerning about her baby's eyes, Lauren brought Jimmy to the hospital in today's episode and told the receptionist that she thought her son was blind. She faced resistance as she didn't have an appointment or referral, but mother's instinct made Lauren keep fighting. And as she caused a scene, her midwife Hannon intervened. Meanwhile, Peter was concerned where Lauren was, and alarm bells began ringing when Louis told him that he had seen her taking pills that she kept under the sink. With the mystery stash missing, Peter shared his fears that Lauren had relapsed with Ian and Linda, with Linda being a lot more understanding than Ian. Hannon phoned Peter to update him on Lauren, who told her what he had discovered about the tablets. Lauren was devastated by Peter's concerns, and when he arrived at the hospital with Ian and Linda, she explained that she was only taking folic acid, common for new mums. As Lauren reached her limit with the Beals looking down on her, Hannon checked over Jimmy and realized that Lauren's instincts were correct, calling for the baby to be examined by a consultant. Peter tried to apologize to Lauren, but she felt that they didn't trust one another and felt that they might not be able to move on from her addiction struggles. After the consultant ran some tests, she told Lauren and Peter that Jimmy has optic nerve and chorioretinal coloboma, which means that the back of his eyes hasn't properly formed and he is severely sight impaired. While the cause of Jimmy's impairment is yet to be determined, taking drugs during pregnancy could be a factor, and Lauren was quick to say that she was responsible. Peter headed home. struggling to process Jimmy's diagnosis. Meanwhile, Lauren stayed at the hospital with Jimmy, and in hugely powerful scenes, she promised her son that though she was scared about the future, she would always support him. Will Lauren and Peter be able to come together for Jimmy?
Các bạn vừa theo dõi một sản phẩm của EastEnders Spoilers TV. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn.